And we are recording too. Okay. Um, so doing this together today, Pablo, I would maybe we could start out by talking about how you're feeling about doing this project that we're doing.
All right. Well, for those that are joining us, welcome to the organic, fluid expression of what Chanddeep and I have been exploring. Uh, and we've been exploring, and feel free to jump in, pretty much just through a conversation about how we're feeling about life and current shifts and situations of the world. We decided to start a project on YouTube called the Walk Through the Fire,
Hmm.
Walking Through, or just Through the Fire,
Through the fire, through the
Through the
fire.
Fire, Through the Fire. And now, what was your question?
How are you feeling about this?
The project?
The project overall. What have you felt ever since we had the call last week and we talked about, hey, let's do this. What have been some thoughts that have crossed your mind?
Um, well, one of the things that come up for me about going public, this is a way of going public and sharing my opinion about life and my thoughts and my feelings, is that um, no matter what we do in the eye of the public, there's always going to be judgment. um, and what's interesting, what comes up for me is that um, I speak a lot. I'm opinionated. I'm judgmental. I have many thoughts about many things that are unique, my expressions. So I know I'm going to be looking at our recordings in the future and say, "Wow, I don't mean that," or "I
Hmm.
didn't mean it. I didn't mean to say it like that," or "Wow, that didn't come out the way it was intended to come out." So this is the initial thought, and that the moments these thoughts come up, I'm like, "Fuck it," This is, I am who I am, and what's most important is really to stay focused on the content, the questions, the inquiry, and the overall intention of this project. So, um, what about you? What comes up for you about about this project, through the fire?
I think for me, what's very interesting is I feel like I've been thinking and charting this path on what maybe what do I want to see and what do I want to envision and what kind of problems that I want to solve within this world. I think that's where this core thinking, core understanding starts from. I did a project with a couple of my friends where we took a selection of problems that were still present in 1969 and which ones appealed to me the most. And one of these issues that popped up was how the discrepancy in resources that are available to different people. And that impacted me in how can I achieve this future where people are healthy, where people respect nature, people do sun salutations every day, people, eat good food, people care about themselves, care about the people around them, and do that all together. And the way to get there, I mapped this vision out for 2030. And what I wanted to do was, what are some things required on an intermediate basis to get to that vision of people taking care of themselves? And I talked to you about this last week, that one of the things I feel like is very necessary is pressure, like pressure releases. People, I feel like, are don't really have ways of getting a lot of stuff out of their body, whether it's meditation or whether it's exercise. I don't think there's a regular practice or support system that people have. So how do you build that for them? And the way that I thought best to do that was through Instagram and recordings. So when generously, like, I was presenting this idea for you, and when you were like, let's do it together, I was like, yes, this is what I've been wanting to do for such a long time. And to have somebody who I know and trust, and just feel the strength and the power of as much as you do, like you as a person, Pablo, like I feel that so much, so strongly from you. And I feel that drive and that energy and that passion. And coming up to this, I've been so excited. I've been so excited to have this conversation because I'm like, oh, I'm not only do I get to talk to Pablo more, but I get to share all of the joy and the energy that we both have and amplify it together. And
Yeah.
so those have been my thoughts. You know, you've been you're an amazing person. You're an even better friend. So just pretty awesome to do this.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's really exciting to to collaborate, co-create, and I feel we're the times. You know, I hear a lot of people talking about the times and the times and the times, and now it's the time and now it's the time, and it's always been the time to do this work. It's not that we've come to a certain place in timeline as humanity to all of a sudden now is the time. It's always the time,
Yeah.
and I feel that it's just a matter of us stepping um, into a place of just more sharing. Really,
Mhm.
it's about us transparently expressing and sharing how we live our lives and what are the questions that we're asking. What is the content? What are we talking about? And I feel that this organic conversation, just like, you know, before we had this call, before going live, what I love about the organic unfolding and being in the flow of how we said, okay, what is going to be the intention for this call? And it's like, well, let's do it during the call to see what is our intention and see how it unfolds, because it's raw.
Mhm.
And I feel this is what we need more of, just more transparency and more genuineness and more authenticity. And we don't know how to do this, and we don't know which way is the right way, or we don't have any guidance. It's just doing, it's just being ourselves. I
So
feel, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, you know, you in your profession, it involves so many interactions with people on a daily basis, and on a weekly basis. Why do you feel like there isn't more of sharing, more of transparency? What do you think, when you encounter these folks and you talk about these things? What's the reaction that you get on what's holding this back?
That's a great question. And interestingly enough, today, one of, so I lead these trainings called Functional Power Yoga. And one of our graduates, we were having, my wife and I, Sarah and I, were having a conversation with her. Um, and she was expressing how inspired she was and motivated she is by seeing how we put ourselves out there, how I put myself out there, and just start doing these live classes and these live sessions. And she's a yoga teacher, so she's like, I just started out, and I'm afraid, of doing it. And one of the things that I expressed to her is like that there is no, again, no right way of doing it. It's just, you know, we're constantly being ourselves and expressing ourselves dynamically in so many different situations. And if we have something, a nugget of wisdom, a nugget of gold, a nugget of truth that works for us, let's share it. And how we share it, it's how we creatively express and how we do it. So I told her, I'm like, she told me, she's like, I'm already signed up to Zoom. I'm like, excellent. So by this Friday, do set up a class, set the date, and show up and practice doing it online and see how it goes. Um, so to answer your question, I feel there's, you know, with social media and just society in general, putting people on pedestals, but idealizing people, um, it creates this comparison where um, before someone speaks or puts themselves out there, or they, you know, it's like they have to think about it twice because they compare themselves to be like, oh, I want to look like that in order to sound like that, or if I sound like that and I say this, then I must dress like that, right? Or I must say, use certain words.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are holding back because there are, we've switched from the 9 to 5, programming on television to like internet and fast information. And now it's like actors are no different than social media celebrities, which anyone, that can boost a post can, get followers and become a social media celebrity. And then everyone's looking at what they're doing and they're imitating that. But how many people are just organically expressing? I think
Yeah.
that's the fear. That's the fear, because everyone's trying to sound perfect and do something that they're not organically, originally, truthfully are. What do you feel about that?
I resonate with that. I don't know if it's just social media though, right? Because I feel like the organic expression movement that is coming now is, at least from my perspective and what I've read and what I've seen, obviously it peaked, in the 70s as well. But there's a lot happening right now that I feel like was also happening before. But the shift, I feel like it's this societal pressure and guidelines that are put in place that may be arbitrary, created by who knows who. But I think it's the questioning of where are these guidelines that are coming from. I think that's what's missing, right? I think that self-discovery and questioning, why do I not want to go live? What is the fear that's holding me back? What is the conditioning that I have that's holding me back? I think that's a lot of it. Um, one thing I want to say is I've built my company, right, and the way I built my company was step by step. Everything happens step by step. You just do a little bit, you move forward, and you'll create something big. I remember like the day I incorporated my company, and I was like, oh, this is a great day, right? And the day I hired my first employee, the day I like signed my first contract, to the day I closed funding, right? So it's just been little step by little step. I moved to Canada, and I said, I'm going to move to Canada now, right, to build this company. I think it's so. I think what I'm trying to say is people have this vision of, this is what I want, similar to what you're saying. This is what I want to wear. This is what I want to say. This is what I want to see. But they're picturing themselves all the way at the end point. And when you picture yourself at the end point and don't try to go the step-by-step route and understand what do you need to do now, what can you do next, what is the little bit that you can do to put iron in the fire, I think that's what drives, for me, and that's what my perspective is, what drives me to be able to do more and to create that space.
Mm, I agree. Step by step, I definitely resonate with that. And I feel this is the beauty in the journey, is taking the step by step. We don't, and really celebrating each moment, because it's so magical when we're doing something that we're so passionate about. I spent the last like 15 minutes before this call, like setting up the audio, setting up the lighting, setting up the background, this whole thing, just so I can, there goes the light, right? Yeah, just so that can happen. And really enjoying myself in the process. And I feel that's the beauty of it, and not thinking about how how do we express dynamically. I feel it's a natural thing that happens. What do you, if there's, to come back to the intention
Mm-hmm.
of through the fire, what is, when we say through the fire, with this project of starting this YouTube channel and having guests come on and having these conversations, what comes to mind that hits you, uh, with those, even with the title, which is pretty powerful, through the fire?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, the first biggest thing is people are facing realities that they haven't before. I I was speaking to my co-founder this morning, and he said, and I asked him the question. I asked him, do you feel more mortal today than, or in these times than you generally have. And he goes, yeah, it's more in the forefront of my mind than it ever has in the past. And so when I hear something like that, I feel like
Mm,
that what people are going through in these days is like things that they haven't wanted to face. And the first time I met you, you led this fire ceremony, right? It was burn the things that don't serve you, right? But this it brought to, it wasn't just burning, right? It was bringing to light those fears that you have. It was bringing to light those self restrictions that you've put on yourself. And now in this climate, you have coronavirus that's putting those restrictions, or it's put a boundary, but now people are exploring their own restrictions. They're coming into contact and seeing their own restrictions. So when I hear through the fire, I look at the current climate that we're going through, and how do we move as a society and as friends, as viewers, whoever we have on the show. How do we find ways of connecting with people? How do we help them resonate with what we're saying and what our guests are saying? Right? Where is that connection? Where does that come from? And as you find solidarity sitting in your living room with somebody across the world, in Costa Rica or in India or in Japan, I have some friends who just joined from there too. How do you find that solidarity and move through this together, move through this crisis together?
mm, I like it.
How about
I
you?
like. Um, when I hear through the fire, it's the there's a beauty of through the fire, just that word, because it's like uh, everybody wants to. We all want to be in the light, and we want to walk in the light and experience the light and the openness. And that's what I get when I hear through the fire. However, there's the walking through the fire, there's that burning point,
Mm,
right? And there's that destruction and the alchemy of and the transformation that happens with fire. Um, so what I pick up on is the lifting of the veil, the apocalyptic viewing of truth, of looking the world from heart, and and really, really slightly at the ego, and really looking at what has been the governing force of our lives. This is what my intention is that for myself and for us as co-creators, and for viewers, for guests, is to really look at what has been the guiding force in life, and is that of a place of truth, of light? Is it aligned with divine, or is it driven by something external, right?
mm,
Which is more ego based. And I feel with the fact that right now government uh, and world leaders have invited uh, the masses to stay at home. I feel this is a great opportunity for all of us to take a seat with ourselves in the hot seat, and take a strong and gentle look at ourselves and our lives. Um, because it's like mom and dad said, go to your room and think about what you did, right? And what saddens me about this is that we're grown. Some of us are grown men and women, and we're adults, and we still need someone to tell us, go to your room and think about what you've done.
mm.
And then how many of us have just given up power, and and are listening and are being guided by everything that their you know the mayor, the governor, the officials, the president is telling them, right? No, you got to stay at home because you are not intelligent enough, you're not educated enough to self isolate. So I will tell you, go home and think about what you've done.
Do you feel, like, I don't want to have um like, I don't have any preconceived notions about it, but I feel when, you know, leaders are being faced with new reality, right? New realities that they never thought that they would encounter. When leaders are being faced with this, they're just trying to find help as well. They're trying to find solace in where do I draw my support from? Because in times of need, in times of crisis, that's who helps you. It's your support system, right? And maybe they're like, I just need some space to think about how to manage this. And the best way for me to do that is for all of you to stay home and not create more issues, because the economy shutting down is huge. I know that, you know, a lot of people are facing um, huge impact on their lives. My girlfriend Kia, she knows a friend, an executive chef making $160,000 last year, now couldn't find a job at a grocery store packing groceries, right? So it's very real. And what I feel like is they're trying to do what the suggestions they're getting are. And when you're trying to look at it in a vacuum, when you're trying to look at items in a vacuum, that makes it easy to make decisions. And I think that's what's going on, and that's why this prerogatives on stay at home is happening. But for me, just going back to through the fire, I think for what my intention out of this is that we bring folks on that practice spirituality in their business, that practice spirituality as a way of living, as a way of life, of connection deep within themselves and connections with others. And how are they reacting to the current storm that's going on? How are they reacting, and what lessons can they share, not just with all the viewers, but with us, right? What can we learn from them? What can they learn from us, so that they can go out and become more powerful, more strong, and know that, you know, that like Pablo and Chanddeep will have their back. You know, that's what I want to get out of this, and just build that connection, build that solidarity, so that we can help in whatever way we can by exposing what needs to be exposed.
Absolutely. I resonate. I resonate. I like it. I dig it. Yes, 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 yes.
When you think about people, what kind of people, like not like names, but what can you describe the types of people that you feel like would be best suited in your mind for this show as we bring people on?
I mean, I like to learn, and I feel that, you know, every person, every people has something special, a gem to share, and contribute to society and contribute to their lives and our lives. And when it comes to the type of person, I mean, I'm excited, for example, to hear about, you know, um, someone that has quote unquote made it, is successful, CEO, multimillionaire, top, 100, uh, Forbes, whatever. I'm excited to hear their what they have to offer, their fears, their insecurities, and how are they moving through situations like this, and how do they want to see the world. And I'm also excited to hear from a farmer that has no access to light, electricity, and just what are their fears, and what is their contribution to their families, their tribe, their community, and how do they see the world. And I want to find the connections, the dots, um, and just see how these individuals, how do we dance with these realities, because they're so diverse and they're so dynamic, right? And what excites you about about that? What?
I think that's when you were going like this, I was like, oh, it's just like dancing together. You know, I love dancing, and that is absolutely very appealing. How do you connect people who would never have been connected? How do you talk about hey, I was talking to that multimillionaire CEO yesterday, Mr. Farmer, and he said this thing, exactly what you're saying. So, people there's some resonance there. And how do you bring that closer? How do you, and this is such a beautiful thing about, how you function, Pablo. It's, you ask people to face their limits, and you ask people to face their fears. One of the things, like, is always on the back of my mind every time I go to yoga class is when you made us sit on our toes, and and you're like, I know you're feeling uncomfortable, but I'm not thinking about it. Why are you being uncomfortable? Like, explore that, right? And it was such a powerful moment for me, because I try to do that exercise or try to sit like that a few times every week so that I can move past it. It still hurts, it still hurts like hell. But being in front of you and knowing that, hey, I was able to do it then and I can do it now, and I can increase the capacity that I have. It was very interesting. I have an executive coach, um, and his wife is a Buddhist teacher. And he practices a lot of Buddhism too. He ran a nonprofit a while ago. So I talked to him a lot. And the question today was, he said, you like to be at your limit. You like to take things on and be at your limit. And I was asking him, imagine your tasks that you have on an everyday basis are like Jenga blocks, and you're putting Jenga blocks on top of each other. And the more you add on, you have to keep taking away from the foundation, but you add it on top. What happens when the Jenga, if you move one more block, the tower will fall, right? Some people have the tower fall and they build themselves back up. What I feel like I do is I take a step back, and I just don't. If I have too much to do on my plate, I won't do anything. I will just leave it. I will just leave the tower, right? But how do you create and maintain that sense of space, of knowing that you've pushed your limit, but you still have this space left, and where I can go on a walk and I can go run, and things that will calm my mind and things that will make me happy? How do I keep in touch and maintain those feelings when I'm not in the middle of doing that? When I'm in the middle of a crisis and I have to figure out, what do I have to do at work? How do I cut costs in terms of this crisis? What do I do right now? How do I maintain that sense of space, right? And that was it was an insight. I don't have the answer to this question. It's just a question, but I would love to hear from the people that we invite on. What do they do in these times? How do they explore and manage their boundaries, and how do they push them, or how do they take a step back? I think that's what I'm very, very interested in learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's interesting because with what's going on in the world, I haven't been out of my house for like 2 weeks, right, to the main road. Like, we live in the mountains of Costa Rica. It's like a 15-minute dirt road to get to our house. So we haven't left the dirt road. Um, and when people ask me, like, how are you handling the situation, uh, it's like, nothing has changed for me. Like, my reality has stayed the same because we live pretty isolated from our neighbors. So the street is not, there's not traffic, there's no one walking around. It's just like every other day. So I can't tell of any changes. So it's like my reality has not changed at all, other than um, I know that there is this thing happening, right? And I know that I self isolate to stay healthy. Just like, if there's, people have a cold in the neighborhood, you stay away, you wash your hands, and wash your face. That's it. Take a lot of vitamin C, and you're good. Um, but not, aside from that, like, nothing has changed. So it's to explore the different realities of what goes on. Like, each one of us is a universe, right? And
Mhm.
to come together and share our universe within this universe, it's it's just phenomenal to me. It's a forum to have these tools to be able to do this. It's great. and to just to keep sharing, because we never know. I mean, we were just having a conversation. I mean, what? Not even 2 4 days ago about, I don't even know. You called me for something, and it's like, okay, well, uh, YouTube and Instagram, and hey, let's start a YouTube channel, and it's like, let's do it. When? Now? Let's talk about it. Go. And it's great, and it's good. It's a good conversation. It's a conscious, it's a mindful conversation. It's touching on subjects that people may not care for. Some people may get bored. Maybe some people may not be engaged. Either way, it's some people may be engaged, and it's good. It comes from the heart, so it can only be good,
Mm.
right? So this is the encouragement. Um, I mean, this is how revolutions get started, right? I mean, the power of one is enough. And
Yeah,
now there's two of us, and
yeah.
now there's people tuning in. So this is how revolutions get, this is how powerful we are. And now we have these mediums. I mean, so far, as long as they don't cut out the internet, we're good,
Yeah.
right? So we get to use it for our strength and power and sovereignty and love.
What do you feel like, in your heart? I feel like this is going, and you touched on it too. It's going to be as much of a learning experience for both of us as much as it's going to be contributing, right? What are you feeling like you will be able to attain from what we're doing?
Every time I have a moment to reflect, meaning to be in relationship. Right now, I consider myself to be in relationship with you. Um, there's a process of being in the moment, and then there's a process of listening to the questions and listening to myself speak. And this in itself is a learning process of I'm learning how to express myself, express my thoughts, express any emotions that arise from questions or from pointings. So it's already a learning process of myself, which inspire more inquiry. And the difference between inquiry and questioning is that questioning comes from a place of insecurity, doubt, confusion. And inquiry comes from a place of unfolding, um, from this seat of truth that keeps inspiring this pulse of essence and reality and ego, right? And this is what the inquiry does. And this I learned from. So for me, it's about the questions, like asking questions and really diving and learning to listen. It's huge. What do you feel um, is the most impactful um, opportunity here?
I get to talk to you every week.
Likewise, bro, we get to hang out. Yes.
Yeah, one thing what I was thinking about, you posted this Instagram video recently about Vital, and it got to the back of my mind because I feel like what is essential, and this is my perspective, what is essential isn't happiness in life, but it's that sense of vitality. When I heard you say vital, I was like, oh my god, yeah, I know what he's talking about, because the day that my vitality meter is at its fullest is the day that I can live my life at the fullest. Is when I feel the
Mm.
most happy, when I feel sadness the most, when I feel different experiences the most, because I'm fully immersed in it because of the vitality in my body. Can you speak a little bit about, more about what do you consider vitality, and how do you maintain that on a day-to-day basis, and what do you do when it fades? Because like everything is impermanent, so what do you do when the vitality goes away? What are some practices that you do?
You know, I'm blessed to live surrounded by nature. So I wake up, I go outside and observe nature. Um, and this is enough to start my day. It's like sometimes we joke around with my wife, Sarah. It's like, what are you doing? And we're like, we're watching the mountain grow, right? And it's like to watch nature grow and be, um, that silence, that stillness, and that wild, untamed, primal expression happening at once is a meditation for me. Um, then I have my coffee, um, and I live a simple life. And in this simplicity, I find just joy in the between boredom and action, boredom and doing. And I move, I practice yoga, I meditate, listen to music, build stuff, destroy stuff so I can build stuff. You know, I practice at building furniture and gardening and doing some lawn work, going on hikes, going to the waterfalls. So this is my day to days, and there isn't an aggressive feedback from my reality, right?
Mm.
So it's not like I wake up, turn on the TV, you know, pound down the coffee, and it's like, let's turn on the news, let's go to work, let's get the latest update on traffic and weather and crime and whatever's going on. So I don't have that feedback, that aggressive feedback from society, from media. So it's very simple. It's very gentle. So I don't need an aggressive practice, right, to stay vital. Food, um, exercise, breathing fresh air, drinking fresh water, and eating as clean as possible um, is plenty.
Mhm.
And I mean, I sleep when I get tired. I eat when I'm hungry. I drink water when I'm thirsty, and this works. This works. I everything that I read is conscious. Everything that I look up, I research is of conscious work from different modalities, not strictly yoga, um, from different modalities. And it's always good. I mean, we live in a community with amazing, amazing people. So our neighbors are phenomenal, and there are quite some stories and a lot of masters in our community, elders that carry wisdom, very important wisdom, that are openly share it. So hanging out with them is like going to school. And there are a lot of ceremonies, so I'm always supporting in ceremonies or sitting in ceremonies or leading ceremonies. So I'm constantly in touch with with all that is good as much as possible,
Mhm.
um, and good and clean. So it's a natural filter. I've eliminated a lot of the man-made stuff.
Mhm.
Of I have detoxed it out,
Mhm.
right? Um, so I don't know if this supports. And then sure, when I have my downers, I listen to my body, and most likely it's like I either need to watch what I'm eating or sleep,
Mhm.
rest, or exercise more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such an incredible privilege that you have to be in the where you live and being surrounded by the people that you surround yourself with. And it's action as much, it's like the action that you've taken to get you there as much as it's the how fortunate you are to be in that environment. I I don't I feel like, I live in Toronto. Toronto is the concrete jungle, right? There's
Yeah.
there's areas of Toronto which are green, like High Park, and they're beautiful. And but it's important in those moments. I feel like where I draw my vitality from is my support system. Um,
Mm.
the support system of my friends, of my family, of my girlfriend. Um, and even in this climate, we're having these calls and having virtual coffees, and all of this helps build a strong foundation and keep a strong foundation from which you can go out and you can give support to other people.
Mm.
I had a call this morning with my entire company, and I was telling them the same thing. I said, look, my co-founder and I are here to support you. and we will send you at all times. We are sending you positivity and love and abundance and hope. And that's what we're giving to you so that you can give it out to others. And we're creating that foundation for you. But my foundation is being created by the folks that are backing me. And I feel like, eventually it's just this giant circle of people backing each other, people supporting each other. And what I'm looking forward to in the conversations where we have people come on is, how do they do that? Right? Who are the people supporting them? How are their interactions with them? And how do they take what they learn from these folks and how do they pass it on to their companies or people that they work with? If it's a farmer, then how do they work with somebody who sells the food that they produce? If it's a CEO, then how are they working with their employees, with their customers, with their partners? And I think that's what's going to be very informative through this process, through this video series, is how are people supporting, helping each other? How do different people have each other's backs?
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I noticed quickly where we live is that our neighbors started reaching out to each other and saying, first thing that comes out is like, "Hey, how are you? How can I support you? Do you need anything? Are you okay?" um, and then the community getting together and saying, okay, these are the different farms in the area that have organic produce. They're not open, so they're not having the weekly farmers market. So we assigned 1 to 2 drivers to go uh, pick up these boxes of, produce and distribute them throughout the community. So we figure out who does what and who has what, so that we can support each other and say, okay, let's keep the produce coming, keep the veggies and the fruits coming, and let's stay fed in a way that is healthy while we're all practicing self isolation. And I mean, it is because this is the reality I created for
Mhm.
myself and the reality that we created for our family. But it's also uh, it trickles out to other places. I mean, just having this conversation and this sharing hopefully inspires the people listening, our listeners, our friends and family, to ask these questions like, "Hey, how are you? Do you need anything?" Um, Rather than sitting back and waiting for an answer, because a lot of people also do this, like sit back and let's wait it out, let's see what's going to happen. And it's like, that's fine, but note that you're putting your waiting time, you're giving somebody else power over you,
Mhm.
when we could be proactively supporting each other. And we don't need to wait around to do that, because we don't know what we all need. We don't know what our neighbors need. We don't know what our friends need. We don't know what our family needs. And this is where it starts, right? So this is I feel like an invitation of reaching out and asking like, hey, how can I support you? What are your needs? And what do you have that I may need? And let's trade, or let's figure out. I mean, money is just an illusion. It's a fantasy. So we can figure out other ways of supporting this system, right? And
Mhm.
supporting each other.
That was beautiful. That's beautiful. I, I'm very excited about this, and I'm really looking forward to continuing this. Having doing this on a weekly basis, on a fixed time, I think would be great for us. So, if this time works good for you, then I think every week we can think about this one, or we can create a new one and go through the process. And just really excited about the people that we're going to have on this show. Really excited about the people we're going to connect with. Really excited about getting to see you and know you better and know you more. Just really looking forward to all of it.
Yeah, likewise, bro. Likewise. Um, and also, how do you feel the sharing of this content? How, because one thing I go through YouTube channels. It's like I look at them. They're either entertaining, or there's content that really not just grabs me, but leaves something that I can integrate and ground into my daily life.
Nice.
What do you think is a seed that we can explore, and how do we not only just engage and entertain, right? Because this is entertaining, and but what how do we get that seed grounded?
I think that before you get the seed grounded, you need to know that there is some soil in your mind. Like, are you even open to it? So I think maybe that's the question that we leave people with, right? Are you even open to new ways of living, new ways of interacting with this world, given what's going on? Or are you going to, you can't, I mean, you can't do the old ways that you were trying to do before. It's just not possible. You are being asked to isolate, you are being asked to quarantine, you are being asked to take precautions. But within this, are you open to new ideas? Are you open to new ways of exploring? So to me, that is before you plan anything. There is just like the awareness. Am I capable? And am I ready? Right? Because I think people are ready. I think the society as a whole is ready. But individually asking yourself that question, just being aware of that question, opens up a whole new world.
Yes, yes. And let's say that our listeners that say yes, they're ready. What is it that what are we offering? Like what tools can we give? For example, what tools can we share right now based on uh, through the fire, this YouTube channel project that we're creating? What are
So
some tools?
I can share I can share the wisdoms that I get on a daily basis. I think one thing I would like to share today is I I was feeling very panicky in my head, and tired, but I had so much energy in my body, and I was like, "How? What's going on?" Right? And I'm speaking to my executive coach, and he goes, listen, what is happening is when you're feeling that energy in your mind and not in your body, and there's a disconnect, you need to bring it all into alignment. You need to bring your brain and your body and your emotional capacity all into one alignment. And because you will operate at your truest when you are fully engaged with all aspects of your being.
Mm,
And and what he told me in that moment, which really helped me, he goes, listen, if your body has a lot of energy and your brain is feeling tired, go for a run. Right? And he knows that I like to run, so he said, go for a run and tire out your body and make sure that you're getting good amount of sleep tonight, because now your body and your brain are in alignment, they're both tired. So that's the wisdom that I can offer today, but I think more and more will come as we continue through this process.
yeah, I
How
love
about
it.
you?
For me, what's been what works is being in flow. And I know this term is being thrown out and hashtagged all over the place, but really waking up in the morning and having no agenda, and experiencing whatever I like to experience that I find beneficial for my well-being and the well-being of my family. Um, so anything that's got to do with creatively expressing, working with my hands, whether it be building something, whether it be cleaning something, organizing something, painting something, starting a laying down concrete for a home, um, helping out the workers that come work in our home and stuff like that. So just being involved with that construction and building really excites me. Um, Also moving my body, and not limited to just getting on my mat and working out, or doing some yoga, but just going out for a walk and going to the waterfalls and hanging out. Um, that's vitality for me. And then coming home and having just a lemon infused water, fresh from the walk, and having a cold shower in the middle of the afternoon, and eating a hearty meal, and then taking a nap, right? And then waking up for like part two. Um, and also diving into these, staying in the practice of, of researching, researching my mind and observing my fears that come up,
Mhm.
observing my limitations, and saying, okay, I'm watching you. I see you doing the thing, and I'm gonna do what works, right? Listening to music. Today, I actually did an hour mix. I've been DJ. I've DJed for a while. I don't know if you know,
I don't
for
know.
like 12 years professionally. Um, and I stopped DJing maybe like maybe about 9 years ago. But I still DJed at home and always stayed connected with music. So yesterday I started digging through my music and put a mix together. So that brings me joy, right? It brings me, I'm exploring my creativity, I'm moving my body, and I'm also working around the house, building stuff, creating. So it's for my family. I'm I'm putting myself in, doing these weekly yoga classes and breath work through Zoom. So I'm excited to connect now. I have this project with you, right, through the Fire YouTube channel. So I feel that I'm staying in connection with my natural expression of doing the things that I love to do without forcing it, right? Without saying like, I need to do, I need to do a YouTube channel, or I need to be more interactive on Instagram, but just naturally do it excites me, right? Moving my body, eating well. Today I had amazing, in the mountains we live about maybe um, 50 yards from an Italian dude from New York that makes homemade pasta in the middle of the jungle in Costa Rica. Homemade pasta and homemade tomato sauce. And a few yards down, we have an organic cheese factory where they sing to the cows, they put music for the cows, best treatment ever. And we have this organic cheese. So, I mean, we live in the jungle in Costa Rica and we ordered fresh made pasta, homemade by Italian dude from New York, right, with tomato sauce and organic cheese. And that was my meal today. So it's like vitality, right? And also being mindful that, I don't have pasta and cheese every week, but when I do, it's good and it
Yeah,
better be good,
yeah, yeah.
and it feels good. It's nourishing to my human desire and my human ways, and it's like, yes, I'm in this life, I'm enjoying the good stuff, and I'm doing the best that I can, but I'm in action, right?
Yeah. You deserve the best, Pablo.
You too, bro.
We
You
all
too.
do. We
We
all
all
do.
do.
We all do.
I, I think people forget. People forget.
All right, Pablo. Well, let's pick it up same time or similar time next week, and we'll talk more. But this was great. I'm really excited, and let's bring our first guest over next week.
Yeah, and for our YouTube, for our Instagram friends that are live right now, this is gonna go on Through the Fire YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is the first one, and then you guys can share with your friends and check us out at Through the Fire YouTube channel. All right, brother. Good chatting with you.
Good chatting, Pablo.
Peace, bro.
Peace.